it is time for What the H, because do not understand for the life of me why you have an athletic director that is responding to tweets via fans. That's odd to me. Here we go.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so Caleb, can we pull up the tweet? Is that possible? We can.
Yeah, I'll share it with you guys.
Okay, look, we're gonna bring that up. But first, Jimmy, give me your impression of Danny White as a whole. He's been called on this show one of the best athletic directors in the nation. However, I've been told by several people that he does have a little bit of a sensitive side. What's your take?
I think he's done a really good job as athletic director. I think he has a vision. I think he's a really good fundraiser. They're at $200 million now with their budget, which is a lot of money. They've had a very successful athletic department. Many of the coaches succeeding are coaches he didn't hire, but at least I give him credit for not saying, I'm going to go out and hire my guy. If you got a really good coach in place like Rick Barnes, why would you blow him up? So I give him some credit for that. Overall, and also they won the All Sports Trophy in the SEC 2 years in a row. They've done a really nice job. And one of the things I've heard from coaches, he doesn't just emphasize football, which obviously you got to be good in that sport, but he also cares about the results in a lot of other sports. Those coaches know that, and they perform at a high level. So I think overall he's done a really good job. Now, as far as how sensitive he is, I haven't encountered that. I have not seen the tweet either, so I'm interested to see what that is.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring that up, as this was in response to, it's not incredibly easy to see.
It's a long tweet, yeah.
Because it's a long tweet. So, Caleb, read that off for us so that Jimmy knows what page we're on here. But essentially, Jimmy, it was somebody that had a big orange punch, had said day 5 of asking athletic director Danny White to move the student section. And his response is, I guess since it's day 5, I'll answer, but won't be addressing this again. We already changed the student section prior to the 22-23 season, moving the students from the corner to behind both baskets, closer to the court, increasing lower bowl seats by 40% while keeping the same number of upper bowl seats. We did this to enhance our home court advantage, and it has worked. Atmosphere is electric. It's disingenuous to compare to the 3rd largest college basketball arena in the country that's sold out for the season to buildings half the size of the season ticket base. Stop the nonsense. That's a weird, I don't know. I can't imagine Doug Dickey ever doing something like that if Elon Musk was messing with Twitter.
I think there are two perhaps phrases or sentences that could have been left out that would have made this probably more appealing. So don't start with, I guess since it's day 5, I'll answer. Just go ahead and answer. I will address your question. The second one is stop the nonsense. That wasn't necessary to put that in there. So those would be the two. If I were editing his tweet, that's where I would help him.
Agree.
So what I agree. This is part of Danny White's strategy, though. He's always been a bit of a troll and a promoter. I mean, to a positive way. And Jimmy, I told Dave this yesterday. Look, as long as Florida State and Miami are stuck in the ACC and until they can get out of it, don't be surprised if, because of the work Danny White did at UCF, if they surpass Florida State and Miami as the one of the top dogs in the state of Florida in athletics in the next 10 years. Danny White was so ahead of the curve. He did that troll move in 2017 where he hung a national championship banner. Remember that? For them going undefeated?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So I think this is part of it. My issue with Danny White actually does come from a media perspective. He does things like this. He responds on Twitter, but I don't think Danny White does a lot of, and Jimmy's head will probably explode with me saying this, but I'm actually going to give him a little bit of credit. He doesn't do as much standing in front of the podium when things are going wrong the way Dave Hart did. Now, things haven't been going wrong as much, but say whatever you want to say about Dave Hart. Every time there was an issue, Dave Hart got in front of the podium and answered every question. Jimmy, I'm sure you were at that press conference, right, after the Tyndall firing. Dave Hart did not leave the press conference until he made sure to answer every single question that was there after that firing. And I don't know if I see the same from Danny White in doing that, but Danny White hasn't made as many mistakes to need to answer to those questions the way Dave Hart did at the same time, to be fair.
Yeah, he didn't hire Donnie Tyndall. So that was and then of course Dave Hart hired Rick Barnes, so you got to give Hart credit for that. When I was before I retired, we had Danny White on a weekly basis during the football season and into the spring, but he does not do a lot of media appearances. I won't say that he's uncomfortable doing it. I just don't know that that's what he prefers to do. He does not get out and mingle as much as some other athletic directors I've seen in the past at Tennessee. But he ends up producing. We talked about the revenue. We talked about what the sports are doing. He does a good job with that. But I think it would serve him well if he got out in public more and perhaps did more appearances. I think it would.
It's interesting. What the H talking Danny White a little bit, brought to you by our friend Don Self, who is in the Chattanooga area, 423-396-2126, or go to donself.net, donself.net. Everybody's shopping prices today, but when you put in a claim, you want to know that your insurance agent can take care of you. Customer service still matters. That's donself.net, donself.net in the greater Chattanooga area, over 40 years. Check him out, donself.net. Let me ask both of you guys this, but I want to start with Jimmy. Do we like some of this? Because if I go to the message board and I pull up one of the first things, I think Danny's tweet is great. He's ripping the guy for being a pest. Jimmy, is this more acceptable nowadays from guys in leadership positions? And there's one guy that somewhere in that Mississippi area, I think, that likes to tweet a lot, that retweeted one of my columns over the weekend, which was strange.
He did.
Yeah. He called me classy too, which basically is to reference the fact that I ripped him last week, just so that he knows. But Jimmy, do we like some of this? Is this good for fans? Does it get the churn going? Is there a flip side to being what I perceive as too sensitive?
It's good for podcasts. It's good for talk radio. It's good for the media. But it's probably better to take the high road in situations like that. I got to the point where I got ripped so much I didn't even read them anymore, so I didn't really care. So I didn't know what people were saying about me. It didn't do me any good if they were ripping me. It didn't do me any good if they were praising me. I just did my job and went on and tried to have tunnel vision. And I think that's what Danny White, I think that's what other people in leadership roles should have. I will say this, every now and then somebody ticked me off to the point where I did respond. And as soon as I hit that send button, I'm like, why did I do that? Just let it go. I mean, who cares what that knucklehead thinks? So, but I do think it's good for the media when you have these situations that occur.
Have you seen the Herm Edwards video with the NFL Symposium? Don't hit send. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
He repeats it over and over. Just don't hit send.
I wish I'd taken that advice a couple times.
He's so impactful about it. Caleb, is some of this cool? I mean, is some of it like you've got an in vogue dude who's kind of hip because he uses the X or whatever the heck we call it?
Yeah, but I'm with Jimmy. I don't know if it's good for what his job is. I don't necessarily think it's bad. I think he really is just trying to address questions that were asked to him, and he has responded to fans. I mean, I see Jimmy's point from a media perspective. I'm like, we feed off the drama. I like drama. I like chaos. Yeah. I'm like the Joker and Batman. I'm an agent of chaos. So, when people come at me on Twitter, Jimmy, I will say I come back and I don't regret it. It actually fuels me. It's and some former players have come at me before, and it fuels me to say, I think I'm going to write something else to upset them because I had so much fun upsetting them this time that I think I should just target them and tell them why they specifically sucked when they played at Tennessee. And so
I didn't have that much time. That'd have been my job responding, so I just decided to let it go.
4 hours a day on the radio makes it difficult. But we may have a young John Adams on our hands. That sounds like something John would say.